so they called and they kept calling, get all the automated stuff. And then they hit the button, hit the number that took them to the cancellation department, automatic, instant person talking to them,
Yeah,
you know,
you threatened to take money away from them, they, yeah.
yeah, takes them up. That
Money talks.
66 sounds good, but.
See if anybody tunes in tonight.
I've been doing a lot of reading in this book.
I'm glad because I think I'm going to ask you to write one of the warrant articles.
I would like to, I've been reading about that. And I also, see, I don't have a computer or a printer or anything, so all my notes are handwritten here. And it's, I was reading about something. And because it has to do with the zoning. And the different concepts of zoning. And I was reading one about the innovative zoning. I don't understand it. I don't know if, maybe you know, if Enfield, if that's a concept that a town can adopt, or is it something that's available?
Well, the zoning ordinances are basically determined by the planning. And they put them up for the vote at a town meeting. The last time they jury rigged all the zoning ordinance, they all passed. So there's unfortunately little in the way of education that goes on, and if the planning board recommends it, the rank and file in this town will just vote okay.
Oh, sure.
And what they did, one of the zoning ordinances was to reduce the amount of land in the R1 areas.
Oh, yeah.
To R.5. So they wanted to make half an acre for the people who belong to the sewer, you see. Well, I mean, that's, you want to cram all the people in there. I suggested to the planning board once that they consider building vertically rather than horizontally. But they can't dictate if somebody wants to build a house, where it has to be built or how many floors it's supposed to have.
There is a height.
35 feet above the ground. They passed that too.
Is that above the ground?
Yeah.
With just the ground level or
Right, the ground level.
not the basement?
No, you can go underground, but you have to be the highest peak in your roof. That means that nobody in Enfield can build a house of 2 stories with a cathedral ceiling. Because I have such a house, and the ceiling, the peak of the roof of the cathedral ceiling is 50 feet above the ground. So that's it.
So,
And I think
what does that mean? I mean, could
well,
there be consequences or not?
no, I built this before they changed.
Oh,
This
before.
zoning ordinance was only changed a couple of years ago. Hi, Jay.
Hey, everybody. How's everybody doing?
Good,
Good. Sorry to interrupt.
that's okay. So, yeah, but like basic zoning concepts, and then it breaks it into different types. And I didn't know if, and conservation commissions act appropriate to the type of concept that the town has. So I was just wondering if the town has a name of a zoning concept that they follow, or is it they can mishmash them all? I don't know.
Well, I think most of the time, at least from what I've seen, it's ad hoc. It's whatever the planning board thinks they want to do to further their own development schemes. That's why this thing we put together is supposed to become part of the master plan.
Mhm.
Now, the master plan has no legal standing, so
Right.
it can't necessarily be enforced. It's just a proposed direction that the town wants to go. But that's why it's important for us to get this into the master plan, and there is provisions for the Conservation Commission's input into the master plan, which is what we're going to do with this thing. I'm going to send it to David Frack, who is the chair of the master plan group and also the chair of the planning board, and ask him to include that in their master plan. Hi, Shirley.
Hello, Shirley. Hawaii.
But I've made a list of the warrants that maybe we would work on.
The planning board is getting ready to, if they're gonna do it at their next meeting or the one after, but they're looking at rewriting ordinances. I don't know if that's helpful information or not, but. I'll
Yeah, they
kind of
do
look
that
at
every
the-
2 or 3 years, and the trouble is that it's difficult for the rank and file of this town, and me too, for that matter, to decide what those changes pretend as far as development is concerned.
Yeah,
But when they fool around with these, and that's what I call it, when they fool around with these ordinances, they do that to sort of clump together things that will push forward progress in the town.
That's what they claim,
That's what they claim.
but there's
That's it.
progress in the wrong direction.
Yeah, I agree with that. And people, the normal lay person, I mean, every night, I don't read it every night, but every time I read this, I go, holy moly. You know, this is
Holy moly.
really, a big- yeah, well, I was gonna say something, but we won't say. And,
Holy moly.
trying to clean up my act. And, yeah, so, and the average Joe, and I consider myself an average Joe, and I read this and I go, my God, I didn't know that. So how is anybody who works, 5 o'clock in the morning to 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, come home, how are they gonna know what's going
Well,
on?
that's why the town residents, which are the legislative body, depend upon organizations like ours or commissions like ours to educate them, which is, if they read it, that's why we send out our natural resources inventory. That's why
Yeah.
we're sending out these things. Because you're right, many of them don't have time or even interest. I mean, there are people here who couldn't give a damn about what goes on in the town as long as it doesn't bother their property.
Exactly, or their way of living. I know, I have a friend who filled in the wetland and nobody even knew, and I went, oh my God, but it's done and it's over, and then
Yeah,
it's over.
yeah. I
I mean,
mean,
I bet she did a long time ago.
and that's the other thing. There's so much of this town that was built in 1700 and froze to death that's grandfathered in. Then the planning board uses that as an excuse to do nothing. That's coming up with Conkey's application for a gravel mining pit. You're not typing this down yet because we haven't called the meeting.
no, I'm working on, agenda. Nope,
Thank you.
All
not
right, well,
now.
it's 4 o'clock, so I will call the meeting to order, October 6th, 2022. Department of Public Works, Conservation Commission. And the first order of business is to record the attendance. And we have a voice recording too, don't we? Ms. Banker?
In addition to this one,
Yeah, isn't it recorded in voice?
it should be, but the recorder is at my house. I just came from my kids' school for an open house, so I do
So
not have it on.
just write down then, Jay Welnick, Leah Davis, Shirley Green,
Doug Smith,
Doug Smith,
That's an easy one.
and Jerry Tice. Yeah, but I can't,
it should be, but
It should
and
be.
Jerry Tice are here.
And I have this recording, so this one will
And we
be.
have a full,
Yeah, that's right.
we have a full group.
You don't get anybody viewing this.
Okay, the next thing is there's 2 groups of minutes that need to be considered and approved. The first one is the September 1st, 2022 minutes. And the only thing I found was that the pagination needs to be changed. It starts out as 1 of 2, 2 of 2, and so on, but it should be 1 of 5 on the ones I got.
That was fine. That was okay. With the minutes.
Mhm. Yep,
Yeah, I've got 1 of 5. I think it's an error. Are you in Word or are you on like Google, like opening it in your email?
Whatever you sent me is
Okay.
what I opened it, and it was not the PDF because it doesn't
Okay.
have the numbers along the edges, so
Okay.
it's not easy to. I always use that one if you send it, but some
Okay.
reason or other. So can that be changed
Yeah,
easily?
it says 1 of 5 on my end, so the page numbering is always correct on my end, so I assume
Was
that
it
maybe it's
correct
like
on
a
everybody
Google
else?
issue
Yeah,
or.
I didn't catch it, so I didn't.
And I have Elisa check when I send it. her
I don't
way.
know mine. Anyway, mine said 1 of 2, but if it's corrected, that's no problem then. Anybody else got any, corrections? that
Not me.
need to
I
be
do
done?
not.
No,
Okay, who will move to approve the minutes for
I'll
September
second.
1? Moved and seconded?
Second.
Oh, all right.
Doug already seconded.
Okay,
no problem, bud.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of the September 1st, 2022 meeting of the Conservation Commission. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, those are approved. Next one is the September 4th, 2022 meeting. And is there any corrections or amendments that needs to be added to that
September
particular?
Isn't that?
It was September 4th.
Oh,
We
Yeah,
already
'cause we
did
had
it
a
September
special,
1st.
yeah, we had a special meeting.
You weren't here. Oh, yes,
did
you
I know
were.
about that?
Yeah, you were here.
Cause I know I
Leah
missed the
Davis,
first.
Shirley Green, Vice Chair, and Gerald Tice Chair. Those were the ones in attendance.
yep. I wasn't here.
Well, I must have been, then.
Couldn't make it that
I
day.
didn't remember it.
Did you get
Cause I thought I did, pardon me?
Ms. Banker sent a copy.
Yeah, I must have got it. I wasn't at the September 1st and I forgot about that special meeting that,
So you haven't read them yet.
no. Sorry.
All right. Is anybody else who has gotten the copies, found any errors or corrections?
I did not.
I wasn't here, so I can't.
Right, you can't
Yeah.
say.
On the
And
September.
Doug Smith, was absent.
I
as
wasn't
well.
at that,
Right,
the
I-
ones we just
prior commitment
approved.
that
I
night.
wasn't at that meeting. I know I can vote to approve them, but I should be that I wasn't there.
Just double check. Yep, absent for that one.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so again, the only thing I found was that the pagination was wrong, but that apparently is something wrong with my printer, not anybody else's.
I've got 1 of 3, 2 of 3, 3 of 3 on my Word
Okay,
file.
I have 1 of 6. There were 6 pages for that particular September 4th meeting.
Oh no, sorry, I'm on the wrong one. Yeah, 1 of 6, 2, 3 of 6. Yeah, they're all
Okay.
shown up.
All right, great enough. Motion to approve the September 4th meeting minutes.
I make a motion to approve.
Second,
I second.
seconded.
Well, I haven't read.
Anyway, it's been moved and seconded to approve the September 4th,
I
2022
trust Whitney.
meeting minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay,
Probably you
they're,
should second it.
they are approved. Second thing on the, agenda is the budget. We have approved the, payment of Ms. Banker for the, September meeting. Did you get that, check yet, Ms. Banker?
I did, yeah.
Okay, it's $49.50 and, it's been authorized for payment and paid. I'm told by Mr. Morris that he has to sign everything that goes out in the office, and so there was some confusion at one time that I was supposed to go down and sign something. Now they say, it's all right if I don't come down and sign it, but Mr. Morris signs it, so that's fine. That's only involved with the budget that's given us by the town. The trust fund is ours to spend as we decide, not subject to the town's bureaucracy. Now, the budget appropriations, we have 28.63% of the budget remaining. And there are some deficits, and I've taken that up with Mary Ann Crandall, and she says no problem, that they can switch money around. We have 100% of the professional development budget still available, which will zero out the $250 in the deficit that we have for supplies. Now, because this deadline occurred during our hiatus between meetings, I just asked for the same budget for 2023 that we have for 2022.
Sure,
Mhm.
right on.
And I hope everybody approves of that. I don't,
No, I'm
do.
fine.
we
I
have,
I
we
do.
have $16,000 in the trust fund.
Yep.
That we can always dip into if there's something comes up that we need. But beyond that, I didn't figure that it was a good idea to ask for more money.
Yeah, you gotta have reasons,
Yeah.
and we don't have
Unless we
any,
had something we had planned, you know, to spend on.
Well,
Yeah.
we have these things to be mailed out, but they're gonna be taken care of by the 2022 budget anyway.
that's operating expense, so yeah.
And I have something else that's coming up too, that's. Okay, so the balance of the new budget is all taken care of. All right, under old business, August 31st, incomplete forestry statute permit by notification for map 13, lot 35. This is a area along the border of Winfield and Grafton.
It's Potato Road, right?
Uh,
Is it or is it Goss Road?
I think it's Potato Road. They cross.
Potato Road and Goss Road.
Yeah. So,
Map 13 lot.
lot 35.
Yep. It's a big piece of land.
The one on the far right there.
Oh,
Shirley.
yes, I see.
We don't have a lot to say about forestry anyway, but this was just something that I wanted to bring up because it shows that this DES is watching these people, and this was a notice of an incomplete report.
Oh, that's good.
Later on down the line, Mr. Smith noted that I had the two things on there under new business, but he got his permit together correctly, and this last one on number 7 under new business is an administrative approval of him to do this. He supposedly has got to file an intent to cut, and I haven't gotten a copy of that yet as to the amount of timber that he's going to remove from there. Okay, the second one is September 1, 2022 expedited minimum impact wetland permit application for map 47, lot 001.
I couldn't find that.
Very small.
Okay.
Is it just, 1? 001? No.
I
no.
suspect it is one. Then the
Okay.
thing is, that area, I think, has been subdivided because there's 1-1, 1-2,
Yeah.
and I think
And
that's
3.
been
That's a 1-3.
Yeah. So this particular impact for the wetland, and I think that wetland is on the side between Mr. Reagan's property and this other one, because he had to file a wetland permit too for some of the work he was doing.
Do you know the name of the property owner for this
Yeah,
one?
I've got it right here. Oh, sorry. It is Mr. Reagan.
Is it 0101?
Yeah,
Yeah.
1-1. So that's 1-1.
001-001.
Yeah, so it's gotta be 1-1 on this map, right?
Yeah, that's what I figured.
That's that long sliver of land.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's where. the
I got
wetland-
it. I
That's where the
see it.
wetland is on
What?
his property.
I have it up on the screen too, if it's ever helpful.
Yeah, that yellow piece.
Yep.
Thank
We'll
you,
look at
that's
the same
helpful.
piece, yeah.
Hmm.
And what was it? You had to do that?
Well,
What then?
this was an administrative, screw up because I sent a notice to the DES that having reviewed the plans that he put in, that we had no, concern about the wetlands. And somehow that didn't get delivered to the people who were reviewing it. And it says here that what was needed was a signed statement from the Municipal Conservation Commission or local governing body certifying that the municipality waives its right to intervene on the project. So I then sent another letter, email to the DES telling them that we had already indicated we weren't going to intervene. And then I found out, and I didn't know this, and this was my mistake, that there is a section on the wetland application for the Conservation Commission to indicate that it doesn't have any concerns about what's going on, and we needed to sign that. But that didn't come to me until later, and then I realized, so I did sign that, gave it to Elisa, and she said she was gonna submit it. So this is, I called Mr. Reagan and apologized. He said, no problem, that, they were not in any rush to get this done anyhow. And I think, we had also recommended that he wait until the, Crystal Lake was drawn down to do the work anyway. So I shall not make that mistake again. It's a small line and I just didn't read it in the first application. Okay, so another September 1. This one is map 17, lot 24.
Got it.
This is on Spectacle.
Yes, this is,
Oh, that's it.
That's the
On
one
the
with the
branch.
vegetation.
right. This is the Wetland Bureau request. And the first notice here is that from the DES is that this is a reminder that the department has not received a response to its request for more information, letter dated July 7th, 2022, for your 2022-1001659 Shoreland permit application. The response is due September 4th, 2022. So this is something that was sent to the applicant, which is actually the Wee Leaky Trust in care of Paul French, trustee. And this guy is in Norwell, Massachusetts. So that's the first thing. On July 7th is when they requested that information from him. And it also goes back to December 28th of 2021. So there has been some reluctance apparently in providing the information the DES wants, and they've just notified him that they needed to do that, or he needed to do that. And
That shows up on the new business too.
yes, you're right, it is. Because that's something that we did write a note about, I think, so. The next one is September 1, tax map 9.
I struggle finding it right away.
This
Oh,
is,
is that what that means?
Yeah.
yeah, it's right.
Yeah.
This is the bridge that's being built over on the end of Oak Road.
Oak Hill?
Oak Hill, rather, to replace the culvert that has collapsed
Oh,
there.
well, that's a no-brainer.
But the town apparently didn't file all the information they needed to, and that's what this is a comment from the DES to the town of Lock Haven. So the reason I put this down here for your information is that the DES isn't turning a blind eye just because
Yeah,
the town is doing something.
that's
They
good.
told them to shape up and send us the right information.
I love it.
Yes,
Cool, that's good.
I'm afraid that
treating everyone
No,
equal.
what they had submitted was voluminous. I brought that the last time, so poor old Jim Taylor, he had to go back and do over again.
Do you have any idea where that is? Is that down near the intersection of,
It's at Grafton Pond Road intersection.
yeah, right there, 'cause I see where the stream comes in, so it's gotta be right there,
It's
right?
Bicknell Brook.
Oh, it's Bicknell, I see
That's a
it.
little stream
Oh,
that
where that
drains
bridge
into
is?
Brookdale.
It's actually a culvert.
Oh, is it a
It's
culvert?
just a great big giant culvert.
Just caving in.
Yep.
Yeah,
The-
it's just,
Yeah, the,
yeah, I live right up the street from there, so I'm very familiar.
I bet, yeah.
so I had to ask, Mr. Taylor if, putting in a bridge was going to reduce the amount of sanding that had to be done over that bridge, because that is one of the major sources of silting for streams and lakes around here. And he said that the frost would still form on top of the bridge, and therefore they're not going to reduce the amount of sanding or salting on that particular structure once it's done.
So they're putting in a bridge instead of replacing the culvert, is that? what
Correct.
you're doing? Okay,
Yeah,
well, the one down around the corner, Grafton Pond Road, that they put in a couple of years ago. That has to be sanded all the time, because that's actually slipperier than the dirt road.
well, the other possibility, of course, and this is going to be more expensive, but if they use magnesium chloride instead of sodium chloride, it's less likely to create a change in the pH, salt content, I should say, of water, first of all. And second of all, it's not as detrimental to trees as the sodium. As the ground gets more and more loaded with sodium, some of the trees, particular pines,
Yeah.
can't handle it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
You see,
die.
and they're all dry.
Grafton Pond Road Bridge does not get salted. It's sanded just like all the rest of the road. They don't put salt down on that particular, you know, 100 foot
You might
long.
want to check that, because I asked Mr. Taylor about that, and he said, no, we mix the sand and the salt together at the DES
Hmm.
office and then send it out.
Even on the
already
dirt
salted.
roads. So it goes on the dirt road.
Oh, sure.
I wonder what the difference is in cost to put the one that's better on it for the environment.
Well, I haven't looked into that, but I suspect that magnesium chloride in the volume that they would use up here is probably quite a bit more expensive than the sodium chloride. The
Well,
point
Maybe
is,
it could be in certain areas, use that. I don't know.
all this is something that the Conservation Commission needs to consider to bring up as a formal suggestion to the town. So if any of you would like to look into that issue, I know from my experience in California that salting the freeways there destroyed pines.
Oh, yeah.
along
Oh, you see it along 89.
But
I mean,
there's a lot
89 and
of-
93, you see the pines and are dying along. 89 is very, very visible.
There's a lot of roads all around the state that have low salt areas that are close to lakes.
Yeah,
And
very
Well,
visible.
that's
we have
something,
roads that are very close to our lakes. It would be good to have less salt on them.
okay, so would you be willing to get some data from that, and Jay, get some data from 89 and see if we can write up a proposal to send to the Department of,
My experience is it's mainly in Vermont, because I spent 9 years driving to Vermont, so it's all in Vermont where I noticed the damage, but.
well, it doesn't matter. Pine trees in Vermont are the pine trees in New Hampshire too. So the question I wanted to do is get some quantitative data that shows that this kind of salination is occurring under normal circumstances of salt application to roads. And that we need to consider the possibilities of alternate chemicals and maybe a jurisdictional idea about how close to the roads or how close to lakes the salting goes on. Because I've got some dipsticks that I have been given that is capable of detecting the degree of salination in lakes. And I'm going to use them in Crystal Lake the next time we go out there to see to what extent the salt levels in Crystal Lake are reaching a point where a lot of the microorganisms in the lake cannot survive. That's the whole question, is the salination affects the various organisms that are there.
The road runs very close to the lake,
Yeah.
all the way down through there.
Now,
There is not much room between the
he
road.
definitely said that he puts salt or some sort of chemical into our dirt roads? Because
That's
I
right.
have never seen any melting effect on I live on Oak Hill, which is pure dirt, and Grafton Pond Road, and I've never seen any melting effect after they sand.
Well, that's what he told me. Now, it's possible that they've changed their views, but I asked him about this about a year ago.
Yeah.
Because there was something about that came up then. And he said, no, they mix the salt and the sand together and they don't change it in regards to composition of salt, whether it's along a lake road or on a 4A or 4. They don't change it. They
But
use
do
the
they
same.
change it at all for dirt versus asphalt?
That's what he's saying. They use the same mixture for the whole town.
Okay.
That's what he told me.
Oh, boy.
I'll check again and see, but that's what I'm told.
So my thoughts are, here we are trying to find out, what happens, how it affects. So you would think on his end that he's defending what he's doing. So he needs to show us how he's arrived at the conclusion that it's absolutely safe to use this component on our road. Would it be fair to ask him if he had any research?
Well, he's doing it on the basis of safety for the drivers on the roads. And that mixture probably is already been determined by the Department of Transportation. I can ask him these questions, of course. If you want to make a list and send it to me, so I cover the
Sure.
whole.
I mean, I just was curious if he's thinking, he's acting as in his, position of what is it, town,
Yes,
no, he's
He's
the,
the
head of
director of the
DOT.
Department of Public Works. So in his capacity, he's following regulations that have probably been established by the state. And his whole motivation is providing a safe
Exactly,
route for people to drive, which is understandable.
absolutely.
But if you're gonna destroy trees along the roadway, then people got to realize, well, the ambiance of the community is going to be jeopardized. Maybe we ought to drive a little slower and use less salt.
And those trees could be like the canary in the coal mine too. I mean, you're killing one thing, what other
Exactly.
damage are you doing? Right?
That's a great idea. Yeah, that's a good, yeah.
And that's why I'm gonna start measuring
Well, if
the
it's
salt.
running off into
Yeah,
the water.
it's causing more damage that we just haven't seen yet.
Yeah, of course. That's
And that's,
always the way environmental changes go. They start out slowly and then they
Yeah.
accumulate and pretty soon things are dead and everybody's wondering why.
Yeah,
so your dipstick there is gonna be very helpful in giving data.
I can see whether I've got enough that I can do it for a couple of years in a row. And so we're gonna see what the trend is, if there is a trend.
sounds good. Okay,
Okay.
I'll do some digging, see what I can find. Okay.
Okay, fine, Jay, thank you. Okay, the next one is the September 12th. This is the first under new business. This was again, for lot 17. I mean, map 17, lot 24-01.
Same lot, that's
Mhm.
same
Yeah,
word.
that's a French,
Yep.
yeah. And this, was administratively incomplete. And, it says here, and I wrote a letter to the DES, and this is what I said about this particular application. This was on map 17, letter. The Enfield Conservation Commission wishes to intervene on this application and offers the following observations for consideration by DES. Septic system. And this is in the maps that they sent.
I remember this, yes.
The proposal is for two 1,250 gallon septic tanks to be installed, one at 1,000 202 feet in elevation above sea level, and the other at 1,220 feet above sea level. Both are to deliver their effluent to a 1,000-gallon pump chamber at 1,202 feet above sea level. The effluent will then be pumped to the leach fields located at 1,218 feet above sea level through a pipe approximately 180 feet long to slopes. See page 2 of Pathways Engineering Diagrams. Our concern, will there be a backup electrical supply to the pump in the event of power outage? Because he's got to pump this uphill for 180 feet. And if he's going to put his effluent of 1,000-gallon tank minimum or maximum from 1,250-gallon tanks to be pumped uphill to their leach field, he needs to be sure that he can pump those things if the electricity goes out for a few days. So that was one thing. And then the claim is made by the applicant that the project is not located within a region of highest ranked wildlife habitat for New Hampshire by the New Hampshire Fish and Wildlife Service. See Pathways application attachment A, page 3, section L.4. However, our information contradicts that statement. See map enclosed, and I sent the maps from our natural
Yeah.
resources inventory. The highest ranked wildlife habitat in New Hampshire is surrounding the property on 2 sides. This type of habitat is reported to be used by 40% of all wildlife in Enfield by the New Hampshire Fish and Game Department. Recommendation: the width and length of all vegetation on the side and front of the property corresponding to the highest ranked habitat be permanently preserved, and nothing but the narrow access to the proposed seasonal dock be cleared. So what I wanted to do then is hopefully that they will keep that property with all the trees and shrubs that are part of the riparian woodland there intact, and only cut that part that they show is an access to their dock, which is very short. The other thing is the property is also noted as having potential wildlife corridors. See map 5, page 83 of the Natural Resources Inventory for Enfield, which I enclosed. The property is also within the Indian River watershed, and I enclosed that in map 1, page 79 of our Natural Resources Inventory. We therefore request the DES to pay particular attention to the septic system and the riparian habitat around this development to ensure protection against ground pollution, since the setback regulations are not sufficient to filter out pollutions reaching the pond or the wetland. It has been shown that a 100-foot setback will only remove 70% of pollutants. And so I signed it with my name and the chair of the infield. So that's how I responded to the DES's request for notification that we had made a notice to intervene. Does anybody have anything to add to that?
No.
Because we did it within the 14 days. That's the trouble. You see, this application came September 12th. I had 14 days to make a comment. Otherwise, we lose that right. And I sent this letter September 19th. So I think that covered some of the concerns. I didn't have a chance to talk to you all, but
Oh, that's fine, Jerry. Thank you.
okay, good enough.
My only comment, strictly observation, I grew up right there.
You did.
I did.
So,
And I would say the French property is not a wildlife habitat, wildlife corridor.
well, that's,
Just slightly up the hill is an enormous wildlife corridor.
yeah.
They go, let's see, from 15-4 up through 21 is a massive wildlife corridor. They don't travel through the French property.
But the French property runs almost to Blockhaven Road.
I understand that.
Okay.
But again, I grew up there and we did not see large amounts of wildlife going through that property. If you're familiar with that area, there's a old log cabin on the upper part of the pond. That was built by my grandfather and great-grandfather in 1939 and 1940 from the blowdown from the storm. So I grew up on Spec Pond until I was 18, 19 years old.
Okay.
Just an observational comment.
Yeah, well, I think that's great. I'm glad to see somebody that's locally here, because all I had to go on was the town of Enfield's potential wildlife corridors.
Yep.
that have been traveled in. And of course, recognizing that those things are only estimations.
Right.
And that's one of the reasons, that's something that we want to do actually, is to get some permission from people to put out game cameras to show where the roads, because Enfield is highly fragmented with roads across areas of corridors. And we want to be able to see that their crossings there are sufficient to warrant putting up wildlife crossing signs.
Now, my wife's best friend lives in the hollow before you crest the hill to go down to French Road. And she has a massive amount of wildlife through there, bear, deer, turkeys, etc. But they all go down through her property, go over to the Hoffenreffer forest there,
Yes,
and they go down and they drink and, you know,
what
And-
roads do they cross when they do that?
they cross Spec Pond Road or Blockhaven Road.
Lockhaven, okay,
Right.
because there aren't very many signs on Lockhaven Road about wildlife crossings. And I put something, I got permission from the Forestry Service that has that Heffen.
Hoffenreffer, Heffenroffer.
Yeah, whatever. that has
Whatever,
that
Roffer.
forest there.
Yeah.
And I did put some cameras along Potato Road,
Yeah.
but not in the forest. And I didn't see any wildlife crossing there, but I only had 2 cameras. So those are the things, the projects that I eventually want to get started here, because we've got 4 signs that to put up, 8 signs actually, that we had proposed, and the Board of Selectmen decided that they weren't necessary. My estimation is that those are public safety purposes, just like the children at play, the stop signs, all the speed limits. Our signs are no different than that. They're warning the public of potential hazards on the road.
There was a discussion, it wasn't about these signs in particular, but there was a discussion the other night at the select board meeting. It came up that there's been, I guess, a study done, and they're saying that if there are too many signs, that people,
Sensory overload.
yeah,
Yeah, I know, that's what the policeman said. But why then did they put up all these other signs? My point is that if you don't warn people of potential hazards, if they ignore them, that's their own risk. But if you know there is a hazard there, like a curve that you can't take more than 35 miles an hour, then they post a sign that gives that speed limit. That's, in my estimation, protecting the public's safety.
Right.
And so I disagree with the idea that, just because people ignore the signs, you shouldn't put them up. That's, to me,
if your sign's there, it's protecting you from,
well,
if someone is injured and there wasn't a warning, they can say,
well, that's something that I want to take up with a lawyer. If the town knows through the Conservation Commission's activity that there are wildlife crossing roads that are traveled by people in automobiles, and they don't put up a warning there, and there's somebody who's killed or injured on that road with the result of that, is the town contributory negligent? And that's something that I'm gonna ask a lawyer about, because in my way of feeling, as I've said, these things all fall into the same category of public safety. Wildlife is going to get run over or killed or otherwise damaged in the normal process of their life. But if you hit a moose and they're high enough off the ground that they're going to come right through your windshield and land in your lap, that is a potentially lethal accident. And if the town knows that those are crossing, then, not putting up a warning sign, in my estimation, is negligent. And that's the job of the Conservation Commission, is to show that these areas are being used by wildlife of a size that are potentially capable of doing damage. I've got a book called The Flattened Fauna, which is an identification, in pictures of animals that have been squashed on the road. And what they pointed out is this is for the United States, there's $8 billion worth of damage to automobiles in a year in the United States, because for every mile of US paved highways, there are 0.4 animals, wildlife killed.
No, I know.
And there are 200 people a year in the United States killed as a result of collisions with wildlife.
Yeah.
Now,
Well-
that's a small percentage of people that die, but nevertheless, that's
Well, in
a problem.
Glenn's lifetime, he said a deer hit him 3 times.
Run into the car, or
Yeah.
he ran into the deer.
No, well, no, the deer ran into him.
Yeah,
All 3 times.
I've known people that deer run into the side of their car, you
Yeah.
know.
That's,
If it
that's
hadn't
happened
been,
twice to me.
Yeah, if it hadn't,
Yeah.
the newer cars have much lower windows vertically, the deer would have come right through,
Yeah.
right inside. He came back one morning and I looked out, I thought he forgot something. I looked out, his face was all blood. And, it did, because the window had shattered, had glass embedded in his
Mhm.
face. But the deer, the front legs went right through that window.
Yeah, that's scary.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It happened it's happened when he was young. He had to go to Lebanon to check. We were living in Canaan because my mother was ill. And a deer at the top of, I forget the hill by Riverside Grill. There's a crossing there where they're all hit him there. And, because he was just making a trip out there to check, see if the furnace was going. It was cold night.
Yeah, right. We all run by roadkill every day.
Yeah.
It's our family opossum killed. 3 babies.
I biked, I took a bike ride yesterday, and just as a red squirrel got hit, and it was still, had some life in it, I biked over and I watched it die. It was just croaking and squeaking and it was kind of dying, and then I just watched it die.
I hardly ever come back past Lockhaven on, Shaker Hill Road between, Lockhaven and Crystal Lake without seeing a deer.
Mhm.
There's almost always one crosses and I always look, because I always think there may be another one right behind it.
I've seen wrecked.
So
porcupines.
you don't want to speed there.
I'm surprised there's not more deer that are hit between Shaker Hill, like down where it intersects with Main Street and Lockhaven even. I
Yes.
constantly have deer
Yeah.
run out in front of me.
Yeah.
driving.
Yeah, and they're we're on 4A. I'm surprised they're dead on 4A because
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a bad,
they're in our yard and right down to the street. My good friend lives right on the 4A, and his deer in his yard every single night.
Yeah,
Every single night. And I'm surprised they aren't hit on
there's a lot of
4A.
traffic through.
Yeah, I mean, they're going pretty quick, pretty quick.
Yeah, people do up Shaker Hill.
So those will be places we need to place some of our game cameras in
Yeah.
to document that.
yes.
Chris,
Yeah.
okay, keep that in mind, because, I'm getting some game cameras. And we can, I've been using them on my property, but I can loan them to the Conservation Commission. to
Yeah.
Put up. We need to get.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move along
Sure.
then. This is another application involving map 17 lot 24-1, 65 French Road. And this is a shoreland permit application.
Is this the same property?
Yeah.
Yeah, oh yeah, these are all the same property. But
And
there's
this
a,
hasn't been done yet. They're all just,
they're out making applications, and the reason there's so many of them, that they're waiting for the ponds to be taken down.
Yeah.
The activity they want to conduct is necessitated a shoreland permit, but I think they want to make sure that the water level is low enough. And this is from Mary Orstreed and Kirk Orstreed. So it's not identically the same property, but It's 24-1,
Oh, it's right next to it.
which
Yeah,
is
yeah.
right next to it. It's a much smaller piece of property, but they also front on Spectacle Pond.
Yeah,
So, that's, and it. Oh, this is a project, for the construction of a single-family residence, an accessory dwelling unit, treehouse, an access drive, parking on, site, wastewater system and miscellaneous site improvement, including walks, paths, stairs, and patios.
On 24-1.
Yes.
Wow.
The proposed construction will result in 6,826 square feet of permanent disturbance and 13,866 square feet of temporary disturbance.
Can you read this again?
Oh, the proposed construction, is that where you wanted?
Yeah.
The proposed construction will result in 6,826 square feet of permanent disturbance and 13,866 square feet of temporary disturbance.
Thank you.
And this is of the shoreline.
It's the lot number.
24-1 on map 17.
I also have it up here if it's helpful.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's a small piece of land, but it kind of jogs like a dog's hind leg.
yeah.
And
It's to the left of the other one we were just talking
Right.
about.
and the property that they want to develop is
Yeah, okay.
actually down in the wider section of that dog leg.
On the water.
Yes, on the water.
So it's vacant right now, evidently.
Yes, there's nothing on there. That's the proposal they've made for their,
Mary Osai. She's a Dartmouth Hitchcock administrator of.
Oh, I know her too.
Yeah.
Oh.
She's vice president of some sort, one of the many.
He used to have a house across from us when he
Yeah.
lived in Lebanon.
Yeah.
I didn't notice it.
okay, so the next thing is that involves the same piece of property. Is a standard dredge and fill wetland application on 56 French Road.
Where's,
Same piece of property,
Yeah,
map 17, 24-1.
one, yeah.
And, let's see here. This is all by Pathways Consultancy, which we're all familiar with. There's several pieces of this applications that is been submitted. So anyway, the project summary for the wetland thing, we had an opportunity to say something. And I did, if I can find the letter here. Yeah, they've got several permits pending. Wetland functional assessment worksheet they had to submit. If any of you want to see these, I'll pass them around, but they were too numerous to
Yeah,
send by email.
is there anything that you feel we need to weigh in on, or is this all in DES's hands?
Part of it is certainly DES's responsibility, but I did call some things to their attention. If I can find my letter here. They had to put a bunch of stuff out to their butters. Quite a package.
wow.
and this was just submitted.
Yeah, this was submitted on the
middle of
16th. No, the 13th of September. Everybody's welcome to look at this if you want. It's a
It's great the way you can put those up there when.
Yeah,
I know.
yeah, the GIS map is really helpful.
Okay, so here's the map that were provided of the project. Pathways. Yeah. You pass those around and you can look at them if you're interested in seeing the lay of the land.
Whitney, can you, you got 1, 2, and 3 down there at the bottom. Can you move that up so?
You
Okay,
can look over
I grew
those
up in lot 2.
applications.
Oh, yeah.
That's where the log cabin is.
Oh, cool.
So I'm interested because 24-1. Yep, that's it right there.
You, what member of your family built
My
that?
mother's father and grandfather,
Isn't that
they built
something?
that with blowdown from the hurricane.
Yeah,
The entire cost of that was $287.
isn't that
Amazing.
something?
That was, all of those logs are stacked one on top of another and they're held together by drilling down through and driving broomsticks down through the holes.
Okay,
Yeah.
And the cost of $287 was milling out the pine boards for the floor and the pine boards for the roof. Paying for the glass. My great grandfather handcrafted all the windows in that. The big window up top is a new addition since the new woman has bought it. Yeah, that was the
cool.
Hutchinson camp in the
That's
well,
cool.
up until 1968 or 9.
Was that a camp or was that when, was that an all season? That was just a
And it
camp?
was camps.
That was a
It was
camp.
3 seasons.
Jay, do you want to see this?
I'm all set.
Okay.
I'm all set.
So what that tells me is the lay of the land on 24-1 is going to be quite steep going down to the
To the lake?
to the lake.
Yeah.
I mean, not super steep, but it's still, and I don't think there's any wetland anywhere near the lake on that property. There may be some up in the back, some swampy stuff. but,
Yeah.
Cause
So
there's
the
quite
biggest
a,
concern is just protecting the erosion
Yeah.
from that, right?
Runoff.
Runoff.
right,
Yeah.
Yeah, just,
How close are they planning to build it, does it say?
Well, of course, the town only has a 51-foot setback. And that's one of the warrant articles that the Conservation Commission will put up.
Right.
For that, is that the 100-foot setback or even more. I don't know
Right.
whether we want to risk asking for 200, but 100 or 150 is certainly, because the data that's been published shows that only 70% of pollutants is filtered out with a 100-foot setback from wetlands.
Yeah.
So if you don't think there's any wetlands there, Mr. Smith, I don't know why they've been required to fill a standard dredge and fill for wetlands. There
well,
must be
what
some-
are they doing at the shore side would be a dredge and fill
Yeah,
concern.
so they're building as close as they can. If you look at
50
those,
feet.
if you look at those, that map, it should show you, but they only are required to set back 51
Right.
feet or something.
So they're
like
probably
that.
going with exactly
Being
with that.
familiar with the property, I'll take the directive, is what they can. Where are they building here, Jerry? Okay. Approximate building.
Or they, if you move to the other things, they line it out a lot better. Show
Oh,
the
okay.
inside.
Right, now where is the pond here? This is the pond. Yeah,
So that's,
and down here is going to be steeper than back here.
that gives you a little bit of a look there. Good one.
This is lot 1, which is right next
Next to it.
Right, now behind
Yeah.
lot 1, there's a little bit of a sandbank. There's a bank behind that which you don't see.
You can see how it drops down.
Yeah, it does drop down, so Yeah, see right there to the right?
Yes,
Fair slope, not, not precipitous.
But it is, you can
is
tell,
a-
quite a
It
slant.
is a slope.
Yeah.
And you're gonna find the same thing as you go behind that camp.
Over to that lot in question.
Correct. That's right.
Well, we sent out a notice, it was in our minutes of a meeting several months ago, showing the profiles of the setbacks. And sometimes the banks are sufficient in terms of their distance to the water to compensate for the 51-foot setback. Then there is a 100-foot setback that's a woodland protection. And then it goes up to 150 feet, which again is required for the preservation of vegetation. So that gray house there, there's probably a 51-foot
Yeah.
slope to the water.
Now I'm noticing here, if you look, the proposed on-site waste is well back from the lake.
Right.
So they're talking 200 or plus feet.
Yeah,
And
Good.
that's,
that's good you know about the land.
Pardon me.
that soil is
Good he knows the
Yeah.
land.
Mhm.
very perkable. It is, your standard old Enfield Canaan gravel.
gravel. So that won't hold back much. Pretty porous. So the leach field,
But
if
that
they
leach
use
field is
a,
showing quite a
if they
ways.
use an enviroseptic system, they would produce much less water than the normal leach field. And I think from the way they've diagrammed that and the way they diagrammed the one with Paul Tabor, I think that's what that is, an enviroseptic or something very similar to it. So the only question about it is the slopes. The state of New Hampshire does not recommend building on slopes greater than 26% slope.
That's way less than 26%.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah.
So
I would be very comfortable with that as
Yeah.
drawn.
I don't think that that's,
Okay,
something that
okay,
Again,
really worth.
grew up there for,
okay. Then I'm okay with that too.
Okay. Good enough. This is more of their. Next one is, map 21, lot 48 on Melindy Lane.
Well, we've been there.
Yeah,
before.
we've been,
Yeah, they.
That's at Lake Miscom.
They went ahead and got their approval for the wetland and non-site specific permit for their additional house and the underground electricity. Says here from the DES, based upon review of permit application 2022-01562 in accordance with RSA 482-A and RSA 485-A:17. The New Hampshire Department of Environmental Services hereby issues this wetland and non-site specific permit. To validate this permit, signatures of the permittee and the principal contractor are required. So basically, this is already a fait accompli.
Who's the owner on,
A guy by the name of Melindy.
oh,
He named the road after
Lane.
himself.
Right. Pardon? What he's doing is, I went to the place and talked to the person from the contractor who is responsible. I think it was Pathways as well. And he wants to build an addition to that house.
That house right there?
Yeah,
And here's a.
further down in the front by the lake to accommodate his family. He's apparently older and he's retiring and he wants to have enough room for his family to come there. And so he wants to also to put a septic or put a toilet in his, what is now basically a storage building.
Is that the front right there?
Yeah.
Mhm.
now how close is he to the lake?
Well, his setback is from the Mascoma Lake is on that origin, on the stuff that's there is probably close to 100 feet, but the new building that he wants to build up is probably not more than 51 feet, just the minimum, minimum required. The only concern that I pointed out to them was they want to put the electrical supply to that particular house underground. Their electricity comes in from Liberty, and the pole is on the edge of their property, and that from that pole, they want to go underground throughout this wetland or along this road in the wetland, and then bring it back up to another pole because there are houses beyond that rely upon that electrical system. And the question I had was because of the septic system again, the water has to be drained from the toilet in the storage shed down to a holding pit, and then pumped uphill to the sewer line. And that has to go through part of the wetland. So they have gotten a wetland permit as well to fill some of that wetland. Now, the value of the wetland itself, as I looked at it, is downslope. And there is a sump that is there on the property, and not actually on their property, but further down that water will accumulate to. So that the interference, the wetland itself is all sloped away from their property. And there's no other houses around that wetland that are likely to be affected by it. So the fact that they're filling a portion of it is not going to interfere with the drainage, because the property along 4A drains down toward this wetland, and then it all drains toward a sump that is at the bottom of this wetland. So it didn't seem to me as though building or the interference with that wetland, because he needs to change the direction of the road. That's what he wants to do, is to move his road a little bit into the wetland. But it isn't constituting a large amount of interference in the wetland. He's not more than a few feet in there. So at any rate, I didn't see any reason for us to say anything, because they had to apply for it, and DES was going to look at it, and it didn't look like a major interference to me.
That's fine.
Okay. Next one is September 16th. Shoreland permit application tax map 44 lot 12-13.
Where is?
Right up on
What is the
Crystal Lake,
application?
north end, Crystal Lake.
This is a shoreland permit, 193 Crystal Lake Road,
Mhm.
map 44 lot 12
That's right next to Kudamash cottages.
Yeah. Did you know Carl Kudamash? Did you know him?
Yeah,
Didn't you work at the Mascoma Bank?
No, this guy, he was a milkman. He delivered milk. I knew him when he delivered milk to the hospital.
But
yeah.
his
Oh, you
wife-
did,
Yeah,
Huh.
many years ago.
huh,
Yeah,
that was a long time
that was in
ago.
the 80s.
Yes.
That's when I knew him, yeah.
Yeah,
He was our milkman.
some good friends of, actually, they were my daughter's godparents, also delivered milk down
Yeah,
in Springfield, Vermont, but they were good friends with him too.
yeah. So
When they
that's his
came to
family.
visit us, They used to visit him.
So that's still his family owns it?
No,
Okay,
no,
I didn't think so.
it's been sold quite a long
Yeah,
time.
yeah, okay. I'm sure he's been gone quite a while.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay,
I'd say 40 years.
yeah, I just knew him. He was at the end of his career when I knew him.
Yeah.
And he was still delivering milk for Billings
Yeah.
to Hitchcock when I was in the kitchen. Yeah, remember Carl?
Okay, so basically, this is
What do they want to do?
an application for a shoreline permit. The application shall be reviewed in accord, they didn't send anything to me about this. All they sent was this copy that they notified Aaron and Kira Dufault,
Mhm.
who live in Nashua. And they said their application will be reviewed, and that's all.
It doesn't say what they're applying for?
No. Well, they're applying for a shoreland permit, so something is going to be done with the shoreland, but they didn't send any direction or
Right.
anything else. But they
Yeah.
did send a list of things that they have to abide by RSA 483-B.
All right, that's,
He actually owned this 14, the Kudamash. He was, let's see, there's Defoe's and then there's, Bacon's. And he's a little bit further on around the corner. It doesn't show there where he
Okay.
was, right on the corner. Joanne Gratiot owns
Yeah,
it
yeah.
now.
he had a horseshoe pit there and he'd be playing
Yes.
horseshoes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Did
I
you,
remember
do you have
that.
a yurt there?
Yeah.
A friend of mine,
He was at 32, I would say. No, 32 was,
Yeah,
the one beyond
Yeah.
32.
I think, yeah.
where's the yurt? Is that
Where who?
a yurt? It's a
Oh,
building?
yeah, I think that's.
Oh, that's one of
part
these.
it.
That was,
That's
Well,
not
you know,
third,
a friend
was
of
Decatur
mine,
that's on 12.
friend
That's a
of
yurt.
mine and her husband
You're-
built that. And they
Yeah.
lived
That's
way up in
on,
northern Vermont. She had all her kids in the yurt.
Yeah.
And they sold it and they moved it down here and that's her actual home.
That's
At one
lot
time, isn't that
12. That's on
amazing?
lot 12.
Mm-hmm.
And the Defoe's own both 13 and 12.
Yeah, that's the one.
All right, so there's not much we can do until, really we find more information, right,
Correct.
Jerry?
Because we have no idea what they want to do.
No,
No,
that's all I've got.
all right,
Okay, so the next one is September 19th. Forestry statutory permit. We've already looked over this one. This one is
yeah,
an approval of the thing because they supplied the information that they needed. So it's a permit by notification and they have a list of 8 things that they need to be sure they comply with,
okay,
and that's that.
okay.
Oh, there's another one from Melindy.
And
Yeah, that's back to Melindy again.
Oh, my goodness.
Is that,
that's December 23. This is a shoreland impact permit associated with their construction, I
A week
suspect,
later.
of that house.
Yeah.
Or that additional residence that they're gonna build there.
okay,
And the following project specific conditions have been applied to the permit pursuant to environmental water quality 1406.15C. And they've listed a whole series of things. If anybody wants to read them, I'll pass this around, but it's basically ensuring that they, all work shall be in accordance with plans by Pathways Consulting and so on and so forth, and within 3 days. So you want to read this?
No.
But DES is, as far as I can see, doing their job.
okay, I'm okay.
Okay, now. The other thing that I wanted to point out to you is, you may have seen it on the internet, from our town. There's a whole bunch of surplus property.
Right,
And
on Methodist Hill,
yes, and I wrote a letter, to the town suggesting that they retain lot 29 on map 2, which is a 100-acre piece.
yeah,
Is noted by the Conservation Commission's 2021 Natural Resources Inventory to be characterized by steep slopes.
Oh, yeah.
15 to 25% grade.
yeah, that's steep,
This type of land is listed by the state of New Hampshire as undesirable for home sites due to the expense of construction and also septic system function. This is one possible reason Methodist Hill Realty let the property go, because it was taken over by the town for lack of taxes. On the other hand, the 100 acres is only fragmented by one Class 6 road
yep,
and offers a large undisturbed habitat for wildlife and recreation with a riparian woodland and pond. It is also on the boundary line between Enfield and Lebanon, thus affording wildlife the opportunity to move into contiguous wildlife habitat without having to cross major roadways. In keeping with the master plan of maintaining open land for wildlife and recreation, the Conservation Commission recommends that the town of Enfield retain ownership of this property.
I agree.
Oh, absolutely.
Have you walked up there at all, Jerry?
Yes.
I know where it is. I haven't walked it, but now that I know about it, I will.
The Class 6 road is accessible off of 4A.
Oh, is it?
I mean, not 4A, 4 rather, 4. It goes
Four?
around.
No, that's off of, no, that's Methodist Hill Road.
Oh, sorry, that's on, yeah, I'm thinking of another Class 6 road. Yeah, I went up there to deliver some of the natural resources inventories.
Yeah.
And so, that area is got some adjacent wildlife habitat that, these animals could move from one
Yeah.
place to another. So I'm hoping that the town will decide to keep it. I don't think that it's buildable under the circumstances. Okay, now we get to the important part here. The mailing of these, Enfield Conservation Commission plans.
Yeah, let's get it done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
I'm
hope
gonna take this and mail it. Now, the other thing, reason I wanted to add, pass this around, Shirley. I wanted to add this notice to you because it's a URL for a, group of recommendations as to how to go about preserving your land.
Sure.
So instead of just talking to them about the importance of their land, I thought we'd given some information as to how to go about preserving it if they want to. So I'm gonna photocopy 110 copies of that and put them into the envelope.
Okay.
That's why I said I didn't want you to seal them.
Yeah, I just did the pin. I didn't lap them, I just.
I
closed.
did mine. I sealed them because I did mine the day
Oh,
after the
sorry.
meeting. No. I was able to get most of them, they're fine, but there were a few I just had to
You're too efficient, like.
That's yours.
get it out of the
I
way.
I had a feeling Jerry was wanting to put something else in there, so I
Oh,
didn't.
I remember
There were
that.
two properties for the town of
But you're too
Enfield.
efficient.
So I only
Is this
did
this
one
link?
envelope.
Yeah, it's just.
Just-
It
It doesn't tell us anything.
There's two properties that are owned by the town of Enfield?
Yes, on my list.
No, the one is enough.
Right,
They'll
that's
be
what I
aware of
did.
that, yeah.
So I have an extra one here.
Yeah, Jerry, I have 5 I couldn't, well, I have, okay, 3 I could not find any address for, 3. One of them, I wasn't sure which one it was. It listed it as Upper Valley. So when I went in the addresses, it didn't give me any more information. There was the Upper Valley Land Trust was one of them. I suspect that's probably it. And then it was the animal shelter, the Upper Valley Land Shelter was another one with Upper Valley.
That's on Rice.
Yeah, up that way. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's up that way. I suspect it's the land trust, but I wasn't sure. So we could talk about that. So 3 I couldn't find, that one I wasn't sure, and then the Malls' property was sold, and I don't have the address for the new owner.
Malls?
Do you
Yeah,
have
the
the,
property that's next to yours.
do you have the tax maps? I can look on the, property cards and see.
Yeah.
That's what I did.
What do you
on
need to
each
know?
One, to make sure.
You guys are.
If they're
So
up to
this
date,
is the
right?
David Stewart, you told me just to write his name. I think,
So.
Yeah, no, I know.
Yeah,
the
Malls
David
is,
Stewart.
it's
the one that was
map
chair of the,
9A,
Enfield Outing Club.
uh,
It's not the one down below. That's
The
right.
lot
okay.
7.
I know him well.
Bog Road,
Yeah, Bog Road.
like it's still listed as
Rebecca's husband.
RBM Real Estate.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's still, it hasn't, the property card's not updated on here.
Okay. So it's okay. So it's listed as Rob Malls. And then I had 3 that I couldn't find anybody. Map 5, lot 15. I was
Good.
looking for a Lester Fairbanks.
I know him.
Oh,
So they're not even listed on that.
I couldn't find an address.
Chart that I
He's
gave you?
He's
No.
George Hill
I
Road.
sent
I
that-
think it would be, let me see,
Yeah.
432, 430, 428,
Four
George Hill.
twenty-four,
Oh, that's his address?
yeah.
Okay, hang on, Let me just write it down somewhere,
Yeah.
okay, Lester, 424 George Hill Road, okay, 424 George Hill. Oh, I got that one, never mind, I'm sorry, that one I got, okay, I'm sorry. Oh, okay, there's another law with the same person.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What is
You
the
only
law
send
on that
one
one?
to 'em.
Okay, yeah, Lester Fairbanks, one more time,
He
Four
owns-
twenty-four.
424 George Hill. And that's lot 5, map 5, lot 15. How about map 5, lot 19? I got that one. That's Leonard Jenkins. He's good. Okay, let's check this one. Map 9, lot 11. Oh, that's the address? Okay, I couldn't find that in there, so that's,
They're in New London.
what should I use for an address?
127 Sutton Street.
127 Sutton Street, and that's in New London. New London, and the zip code is
03257.
03257.
That's
All
our
right.
former postmistress,
Who was
Sandy
it?
Schrenard,
Oh, yeah, she,
Jimmy Proctor's ex-wife.
yeah, oh, yeah. I remember when they lived on George Hill.
When you go back to 515 again, that Fairbanks, was that Lester or Larry?
Lester.
Cause
Larry is on our,
It's
Lester,
Lester?
yeah, I've been to many
wait,
apartments.
wait a second, that says 414 George Hill Road. Is that the correct address? I thought it was 424.
So, I would assume 414 is this property, but on his property card, it's listed as 424 George Hill.
Who should I mail it to?
I would mail it to what's on the property card.
424.
That's where they send the tax.
Okay, so I got that correct. Okay, 424, and then I've got 127 Sutton Street for
Sandy Schrenard.
Eisner.
Yeah.
And then what do you think on 630? Go to 6 map 30. That was the Upper Valley. I had a question on whether that was the land trust. I'm guessing it's the land trust.
Is it 30, just 30,
It says map
No.
6, lot 30.
not A or 1?
No, it doesn't.
so,
But the bottom one says
It's
Upper Valley,
144 acres, so it's a good sized piece of
says
property.
Upper Valley Snow Sports Foundation, which is probably Whaleback.
Yep.
Or part of it.
Upper Valley, yeah,
It's 144 acres, so you think it's them?
it's listed
Yeah.
as Whaleback Mountain Road, so.
Do you have-
Okay.
do you have a
160 Whaleback.
Okay, and that's Upper Valley Snow Sports Foundation. Snow Sports Foundation. And that is 160 Whaleback Road. Okay, so I think that, okay, I got one more. Let's go. How about map 9, lot 64? I was looking for Krista Basniak. Wasn't listed. Oh,
Christopher
yeah, that's him.
must be.
Yep.
Is it 2 or just,
It just says lot, map 9, 64, 2.
okay,
So that's him. Okay.
Christopher and Tracy?
Yep, 2 Heritage Road. Heritage Road. And that's S. No, ASCU.
AC, US,
yeah, AC,
AS.
no F.
AC, US.
AC, oh, shit. AC,
US,
US.
INET.
NET, and that's Mass?
Yeah.
Zip is
Oh,
2743.
Yeah.
I have one, just one, now that we've solved the mystery. The 2 Dave Stewarts that live up on George Hill, now I know which one this is. It's a map 5, lot 13. It's gonna be George Hill, probably 418, 416, something like that. He lives near Lester Fairbanks.
All right, so I only have one then, I'm sorry. that I can't do, and that's malls. We don't have anything, you know, I know malls, so I could give him,
Hey, what's the address?
I could ask him, I will.
Rebecca,
So
I can't
Mrs.
get- what-
Huntley hasn't brought,
What is that?
394 George Hill Road.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's hard to look and write, you know what I mean? Yeah, it's good if you look right
Is
at
he,
it.
is
Thank
he,
you.
so he's 03748?
Yeah,
There.
Jerry, are you collecting these today? Want me to write them out right now, or?
if you can, write them on that manila envelope.
Yeah, I'll do them right now then.
Yeah,
Okay.
Ms. Banker?
Yeah.
Mrs. Huntley should have brought that ownership of that property that was owned by Maltz up to date. It's a couple from Utah.
what's the,
Let me get
Tax
you the
info
number
again?
here.
let me see if maybe there's a deed that's been uploaded.
The property that you want to look at is, yeah. It's, map 9A, lot number 7.
Ashner, that would have been the previous.
Oh, yeah,
Right,
that's a
yeah.
long time ago.
Yeah, I don't know how often they update this information, so maybe,
Well, Mrs. Huntley says she only updates it as the deeds are filed. So I'll go and ask her if she has the name of the people in Utah that bought that property and their address.
yeah, on here it still has all of the, Mal's address information.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's something I'll look into.
We tried.
Yeah, sure.
Strictly informational comment here. On the way these maps are set up, they're somewhat disjointed. So Oak Hill Road has got, I think, like 3 separate maps. And one of the members, the Conservation Commission, got missed of this.
Oh, yeah.
Myself and my next door neighbor were missed, so obviously I'm gonna deliver my own to me. I'll hand deliver one to the next door neighbors, so.
Yeah. No, not only that, a lot of the subdivisions that have gone on are not located on this.
Oh, I've been here since 98, so it's,
No, I know that, I'm talking about properties that
Yeah.
that have been subdivided. That, there was one property we looked at that is got, oh, I know, it's the one on Crystal Lake that's, or maybe it's Mascoa, but anyway, it's 1.23 acres. And that lot, that larger piece of property that produced that had been grandfathered in. So he, even though it's an R5 district, is allowed to build on a 1.23 acre lot. So there's that, and that doesn't show up in these things either. All they do is show the big piece. And I don't know how often they ever update these. These are the most recent copies that I was able to obtain from the town that I photographed for you guys. So I'll ask her about that.
well, it's
Okay,
just, my point is, my neighbor immediately south of me, 300 feet away, is in here. Oh,
Yeah,
was on the list.
yes,
My neighbor 2 houses to the north of me was on the list.
but you,
My neighbor immediately adjacent to me and myself are not on the list. So we're 2 different tax.
yeah,
349 is on this tax map, and 351, 361 are on another tax map, so we got missed.
yeah.
So we're gonna have some
So
that,
you've got some habitat though that is relevant to this.
I got the same stream coming through my yard that Hurley's and Nickel have, so, yeah.
All right, the last item that I wanted to bring to your attention and that I'd like you to consider for our meeting in November is the warrant articles that the Conservation Commission would be interested in putting up for the March town meeting.
Sure.
The ones that I think are useful is the one that allows the Conservation Commission to collect a portion or all of the current use tax that is used or that is assessed to a developer when they want to take property out of current use. And I know that Grafton has that provision. They get, I think, 100% of it. So we need to see if the town will approve the Conservation Commission trust collecting the money from the current use charges that the town now makes.
How much does that amount to on average?
Well, that's of course variable. I think Canaan also has this, and they're allowed to take $5,000 of the current use charges for their conservation budget.
Should that be listed in the town report?
Yes, it should be there as to how much money they've collected from current use tax under the revenues
Mhm.
section, and I didn't bring that this time. The other thing is that, I think we need to put up a warrant article asking the town if they will give the Conservation Commission the opportunity to put up wildlife crossing sign on roads where we have demonstrated potential public.
Yeah, we already own the signs.
We'll
I
get
agree.
them up.
Public risk.
I agree.
I had another one. It had to do with the money in the budget to return it back to us. Do they do, that has to be voted on every year.
Right, and I thought I had taken this up with Mary Ann Crandall, and I think she told me that all we have to do is request it. It doesn't require a warrant article, but I'll look into that and see if it does.
What, I mean, I don't know if this, but in there it says you have to do it every year, but I hope we don't have to. I
I
hope
forget
we,
what it's called, because we did that with the Old Home Days Committee, and we don't have to do something every year. It just automatically stays in our fund
that would be nice.
instead
Okay,
of going
so-
into the undesignated fund. And I'll have
Oh.
to check on what that's called.
Because last year we had 35% of our budget unused. This year we've only got 28%, but nevertheless, we shouldn't lose that money.
No,
No,
And so I'm gonna get a firm idea of what needs to be done in order for us to just have that put over into the trust fund.
right. I think ours, I think we just went to the select board for it, but I have to check on it. It was many years ago. that we
Yeah,
did
okay.
this.
and,
But,
and then there'd be the buffer, we have to decide how many.
hmm. How many feet on the buffer?
Oh, that's right. That's the other one. A warrant article to establish, reestablish the 100-foot setback from all prime wetlands.
We gonna
Yep.
go 100 or we going 150?
Well, that's what I want to ask you. How much do you think the town owners of property would be prepared to support?
It's kind of hard because if you pick the wrong number and it
Yeah.
gets voted down,
We
you're gonna
might
say,
support, just we might try to find out what other towns have done that have lake property.
Oh, I've got that information. Some of them have as much as 200 foot.
Yeah.
But the original town had the 100-foot setback, which the state imposed. When the state transferred the authority to the communities to do that, the community only had 51-foot setback,
Hmm.
so they lost. So I think that because the town people tolerated the state's 100-foot setback, we would be safe in offering that for a vote.
I agree, because you'd like to reach as high as you can go, but if you don't get it, then it gets you nothing.
Right.
So if, I think 100
Okay,
if
Now-
everybody else thinks.
But
Oh, I
we
agree.
don't
I
make
think
this decision till the next meeting.
Right,
So
I will write up these 4 articles and bring them to the next meeting if everybody
I'm
agrees.
okay with that, Lee. If you feel comfortable with it and, you
Yeah.
know, okay,
That'd be
then
great.
go
Oh,
ahead,
yeah,
go for it.
yeah, absolutely. And then I can bring them and then you guys can say, well, we need, you should,
that'd be
edit
great.
them.
so
And
the deadline for the submission to the Board of Selectmen for their approval is December.
So we get some time.
so, I'm confused, because I thought if you wrote an warrant, you only had to get 25
Well, wait a
signatures.
minute,
Is that
I'm
different?
getting to that.
That's by
Oh.
petition.
Oh, a petition, okay, sorry.
That's the question of to what extent you think the Board of Selectmen will be prepared to support the warrant articles that we brought up.
Right.
We don't want to submit them to the Board of Selectmen to start out with if we think they're just going to turn them down, like the wildlife crossing signs. They've already said no. But the transfer of current use funds to the Conservation Commission might be acceptable to them. And the setback regulations might be acceptable to them. If we decide we don't want to go through the Board of Selectmen to start out with, the deadline for submission by petition, in which we need just 25 signatures on the warrant article, is February 1st of 2023.
I think we should go with the Board of Selectmen first. Because if they support it, it means a lot to the voters.
Oh, yes, I know that.
And
Mm.
so, and if they don't, then we should go to petition.
I think Shirley's right, because when you vote, they have,
You look to see if the budget committee supported it or the
Would-
select board.
would the
supported it.
budget committee have to?
Oh, I'm just thinking, things, no,
Yeah,
but things that are to do with the budget committee, people pay attention to, whether they
look.
support it or not.
I look
You always
to
look.
see who, I think you're
And if
absolutely
it's
right.
divided, then you say, why, too, if only half of the,
Would the Budget Committee support the transference of the current use funds to the Conservation Commission?
I don't know if that's something that we would not want to weigh in on or not, we'd have to look.
But it's part of the budget, isn't it?
Yeah,
So if
Yeah.
we contacted other towns, would we have a cover letter with these warrant articles that says, 5 towns in the surrounding area have approved this?
Well, that's one of the things we will put into the warrant article.
Mhm.
And I will
The
try and get a
narrative,
hold
yeah.
of the Grafton people and the Plainfield people and the Canaan people, conservation commissions, and ask them if they have this provision in their bylaw, in the town's activities.
So we do our groundwork and we'd be better prepared, don't you think, Doug, if we had everything ready, all our ammunition?
Well, that's right. I mean, we need to show that other communities have voted for this and why shouldn't Enfield be prepared to support its conservation commission as well as the other communities?
Yep.
Okay, so then on our November meeting, Leah, we
Yes,
expect to see.
yes,
these
you will,
four,
because you know why, because all of them are written right in the back of this book,
Okay,
and I will
yeah.
You
In the meantime, I will
make them ours.
get a hold of the other conservation commissions and let you know whether any of them or how much of them
Sure,
have that
and how much.
provision and how much they
Okay.
get.
Okay.
okay,
All right, any more business?
yes,
Oh, wait a minute, I got correspondence. Sorry.
Let me just make a comment here.
Yeah,
Just FYI. On the wildlife signs, I'm in opposition. 40 years of public safety, and I agree with Chief Holm.
Okay.
One
okay,
against
that's
four.
fine.
Just want my position to be known.
that's fine.
Yep.
But you're right,
Absolutely.
So the Mascoma Watershed Committee, I attended their meeting on Monday. And basically, the thing they're interested in doing now is participating in the development of a canoeing and kayaking rafting parks in Lebanon. I talked to a guy who lives here in Enfield. He says there is no rafting or kayaking areas in rapids in the lake, in the Mascoma River here in Enfield.
We talk about rafting.
Well,
They kayak in the spring when the water's high.
that's one of the questions I
But that's
wanted.
in Lebanon.
There is,
Yeah, it's
wait a
on
minute,
Lebanon.
wait,
Yeah.
I've been on some white water and it took out 10 of us. And it runs from the Indian River or the whatever out of Canaan. So sweet. You go around the corner and you
Yeah, there's
have,
some nice canoe.
have you been down there?
I ride by it on the rail trail all the
Yeah.
time. Oh, yeah, that's.
Oh, took out 10 people.
Well, anyway.
The oxbow out there is beautiful.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
but-
But it was
And then
a
you end up in
butcher.
Tim Taylor's pond.
Yeah, we got butchered.
Sure you
Okay,
did.
let me ask you this for my own information. What's the difference between a canoe and a kayak?
Oh,
Not much. One's a little lower in the water probably.
big difference.
I don't think there's that much.
I think there's a big
What is the
difference.
Well, you sit in a kayak and, well, you sit in a canoe
You're
too,
down,
But,
you're down.
but
You're
they're
a little lower in the kayak.
definitely,
It's a style of boat as opposed to,
Right,
they do similar things.
right. They do
Because
similar things.
They have differences, according to this people that I talked to, the guy that lives here in Enfield. There are different rapids that are useful for canoes as opposed to kayak.
Yes.
Yeah.
Apparently kayaks can handle
Right.
more
yeah,
severe
they're
rapids.
enclosed. where
If you have
Canoe is. more
White
open.
water kayak. I wouldn't take my kayak down, well, I did that day.
Well, that's an aside, but I didn't know the difference myself. So there are the whitewater districts are labeled from 5 to 1. 5 is the most dangerous rapids with a lot of, and they have these slaloms that are set up that you can go on.
Right.
And 2 and 3 is what most people use. So apparently, according to the people that were at this meeting, the 2 and 3 and 5s only exist really in Lebanon.
Yeah.
And not in Enfield. You said there was one.
Well,
there.
I don't
There's a little
know.
stretch.
You're in Canaan there.
Yeah, okay, in,
You're-
I didn't know where, yeah,
Yeah, you're in
I'm
Canaan.
not,
Most of it's kind of flat water where you can,
That's what they said.
I mean, you don't go far past Tim Taylor's pond and you're into Canaan on the rail trail.
Yeah,
So
that's.
I
what-
don't know where Tim Taylor, oh, you mean,
Baltic Mill,
oh, okay.
that's
I
Tim
mean, I've
Taylor
lived
owns
here
that.
almost 50
yeah,
years.
it's
and I-
mostly all
I-
flat water.
Yeah.
With some
Okay.
ripples.
That's what they said.
But you
Okay.
get halfway up to Canaan, there's a really rough spot.
Yeah.
It's not real long, but again, it's fully into Canaan.
That must be where you were.
Oh, my God, in heaven. The only one that made it was a fishing kayak.
So the other thing that I wanted to point out, and you probably have already received this, is the drawdowns for the lakes.
Yeah.
And both of them in Enfield are due to be drawn down in October 10th.
Crystal's down pretty well already.
Pardon me?
Crystal's down
It's
pretty
up
well.
now. It's up to normal.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's up
The
to,
rains brought it back
Well,
up.
that's because they've drained Grafton Pond into Crystal.
That's true.
yeah,
Grafton
we were
Pond is
down,
6
we
feet
were down.
I know, I saw.
Probably
I saw
about
it.
15, 16 inches at one time. And
Big Nail
then,
Brook has slowed down finally.
It's almost dead.
Yeah.
I walked the dogs to Grafton Pond
I
yesterday
saw it yesterday.
and I was at the edge and my eyeballs were level with where the water should be.
Yeah.
how is
So-
Mascoma? Is that?
Hi,
Yeah,
Mascoma's
see-
up.
See, we're high too
Yeah,
now.
Mascoma's up.
Yep, it's from Grafton.
But we had 5 inches of rain
We
a
did.
couple of
Yes.
weeks
We
ago.
did. We had a lot of rain.
Yeah.
That'll do
But
it.
you know, the forest still not, there's no standing water, the forests are not saturated.
No, I know.
You know,
Still,
It's been a dry summer, so it took always.
I know, I
But
know,
things are better.
yes, they are.
Things are
And the
better.
other thing, the thing that the communication is, New Hampshire to Lakesides. Are you familiar with this quarterly publication? That
I,
Yeah, yeah.
you belong to the Lakeside Society. Anyway, I can pass that around. You can see it.
Yeah.
And it basically is concerned with the preservation and taking care of
Yeah.
the quality of lakes. And so they're interested in controlling invasive species like milfoil and things like that. Now, one of the things that I've been doing with Glenn Green is collecting water samples in Crystal Lake and sending them to the Department of Public Health for the evaluation of Enterococcus, which they use as an indication of septic and sewer tank.
Oh, I'm familiar with it, yeah, I've seen it.
So we've got that data that's coming. And by the way, they not only processed the samples that we sent on Monday, they sent us back all of the gel coolers and the styrofoam container so we can use it again.
Hmm.
So that's something that Glenn Green, who's president of the Crystal Lake Association, is doing with me.
That sounds good.
GLYNN, right?
No, GLYN.
And one.
Might be husband to Shirley Green.
Very intuitive.
Well, I've known Glenn since the seventies. He and I were TV technicians together for Voice and Vision.
You were.
Voice and vision,
That
yeah.
Give you a way back machine. Yeah, Glenn was my mentor at Voice and Vision.
You're gonna be our historian.
Well, my family's been here
Well,
since
he'll be,
1750, so.
Yeah, see, I didn't know, I'll tell him tonight that you're on the commission now.
Okay, any other business?
I
Yes,
think Lee had
Oh,
something.
yes, I just wanted to, before I lose these are the questionnaires we received from Kat Buxton's
Oh,
talk.
she was awesome. I really
Wasn't
liked,
she?
I liked
I
her.
got the sweetest email from her.
Yeah, I
after
just
she went
totally
home.
enjoyed it, yeah. It
Yeah.
was very
You
good.
did a very good job organizing it too.
Oh,
It was
no,
great.
No, thank you,
Yeah.
but, and so we handed out a questionnaire. And there was a total of, did you do a questionnaire?
No,
Okay,
I
so
didn't.
there was a total of 17 people there.
Yeah.
And,
I didn't even think to, sorry.
well, we can count
No
you as the number,
idea.
and there wasn't one person that would not, they're screaming for more. And I asked them to give topics, and the one private well care. Please build on this session we just attended, that a lot of forestry. Especially changing, involved with climate change. A lot, they want to know about wildlife conservation. And organic gardening, there was a few organic gardens, trees in general, rain gardens, love to know more about rain gardens.
Could you send us a list of the things they want to know about?
Sure, I mean,
Yeah.
it's just because I just
Yeah.
can't, but yeah, it was really, and I just would
So
like
if we
to,
know people who would be good presenters.
yeah, she's supposed to be sending me copies of her slides.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind getting a copy of her slide, that slide.
Isn't
That
she
was-
adorable?
Yeah, she was great. I
She was
enjoyed
just-
it.
And don't forget, I don't know if you saw my listserv thing on the.
Birds, I signed up.
Yeah.
And I also
The
looked,
state of the New Hampshire birds.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm gonna try
Next
to.
Friday?
I don't know.
Let's see, when is it? Yeah, the
14th of
14th,
October.
yes. We-
And I got people from Maine interested, they're
Oh,
gonna
good.
sign in, and
I got
also,
replies from that listserv.
yeah,
People care about the birds.
yes, they do.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, since so many people want this, and that I really think for us to get things that we request, we have to be better known. I don't think people, I was wanting to add to this questionnaire, list one thing that your Conservation Commission,
Can do for
Done.
you.
huh? Yeah,
Yeah.
can do for you, and I didn't put that in the questionnaire. But I just thought that, I know you can get speakers from DES for free.
You could get speakers from New Hampshire Lakes for free.
Yes, and I think maybe 3 times a year we can get the community center for free, right?
Yeah.
No, I think that's great, and I'd
It's
like to
always-
thank you for arranging that and
Yeah.
for producing that questionnaire. So that will be very good advice and leadership opportunities for us.
And what kinds of things you want to get. And I think the idea of trying to do a quarterly one is great.
I would be willing to take that on, but the person sitting next to me, she tested positive for COVID that night.
Oh, Betsy? Yes,
Did you hear that?
I did.
Because I
That's
was training her husband for Meals on Wheels, and he
Oh.
couldn't come
Oh,
his
boy.
first week, the
Yeah.
second week, because he was in quarantine.
Yeah, I had a board meeting, let's see, that was Sunday. We had a board meeting Tuesday. And they called me to tell me, because they know I try to be very careful with
Yes,
my
of course.
grandsons.
So,
But,
so I didn't know I paid tax.
now Harrison has it now.
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
Because I asked Betsy to work at the Sunday at the
Yeah.
site of Sunday, and she said that she was still testing positive. And Harrison had it, so she said they need to stay
Oh,
home.
bless his heart. That's too bad.
Point of interest. Until I contacted the town manager trying to get onto another board. He says, well, you're not needed there, but why don't you look at these? And this is one of the boards. And I volunteered, but I had no idea that this board existed, much less what we do here.
Yeah,
Well, you
Yep.
seem like you're gonna be a great board
Yes, you-
member.
Well, thank you.
You've given, but you know, another thing I looked into is the New Hampshire Conservation. I looked up the next workshop, which is gonna be down at Pembroke Academy. But it's about children, how to get children interested. I don't do well with children. So, but I was wondering if you could put that into teenagers trying to get, I mean, we need to get some
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's good to get those
Schools, maybe.
in school.
schools.
Yeah.
Does anybody do anything with the schools?
Well, you can. Well, also,
Not easy.
the museum does a History Alive program every year for schools, for fourth graders, and they could probably work in some of these things, like, because that's the kind of thing
You
that.
gotta get them.
But we also did the trout program with kids, which taught
Nice.
them all year, started beginning of the year, about protecting the watershed in fourth grade. And that's, you want to begin early. They teach their parents too.
Yeah, they get the parents to vote for things like a good
Yeah.
budget.
You remember, I raised my kids, we had this program called ELF at the elementary school. And that was such a cool program. I think it was, can't remember who, was it the Science Center in Queechee? But they trained parents on a subject, about animals or plants or something. They give you some basic training and then you, the dad or the mom, went to the school and talked to the kids. It was so much fun, you know, and the kids would get all puffed up because, you know, my dad's gonna be talking at school, you know, and. it
I
was
wonder if they
such a
still do
blast.
that.
Well, there's a lot of.
But if there's programs like that, you know, I'd love to go talk to kids. I mean, I'm perfectly happy,
Oh,
you know, if you can go and talk to them about just some of the
But
basics
that's
that.
a good way to reach out with Conservation Commission
Yeah,
too.
you
Yeah,
know, that's one thing that was missing, Lee, at Cats was there was no young people there.
Yeah.
You know, there were no young people and that was too bad.
And she's a specialist about
There needed to be some younger
doing
folks.
children. She has all these programs
Yeah.
for just about every school in Vermont.
Yeah, it's kind of late now, but we should talk about that.
Well, why don't
this
you,
is another way to
why
reach
don't you
out.
write up an outline of some of the topics that you
Okay.
might want to present to children?
Okay.
And bring that to the next meeting and we have some concrete stuff to work with.
Just talk about, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And what about some of us going and doing appearances at the schools? Going and talking in front of classes.
Yeah,
That'd be
You know,
great.
That's what I thought this was about, that.
Well, I'm just adding
Yeah,
to
yeah.
Jay's thoughts. And,
Yeah.
you know, they've got to have an earth science
yes.
class in the high school and junior high.
Yeah.
And then you get the young people for, like you said,
Yeah,
if you get them early, and with today's world, mom and dad are both working.
Yeah.
They come home and they're both exhausted. But the fourth grade, fifth grades, hey, guess what we heard about today in school, mom and dad? And it was.
Yeah.
you know,
I think
and
it's,
maybe-
I think we're on to something good.
Yeah.
I know
That's
they have,
like-
in the high school, they go to Hartford. They have environmental science.
Yeah.
Kids, they major in it. That's their main topic of
Right.
study.
But we need to catch the college prep kids too.
Yeah.
The
There's a
environmental-
lot there. There's a lot there, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
we need to, because I'll tell you, Eastman, we give away 3 scholarships to every year to kids that are going on into some type of environmental career. And we don't get many from this district.
Mhm.
We get them all from Lebanon.
Now,
Yeah, we gotta
here's
do,
food for
do
thought
something.
again. I'm a member of the Enfield Hunting Club. They promote shooting, but they also promote outdoor activities,
Yeah,
Yeah,
hunting, fishing, etc.
yeah.
we,
So maybe
Well, hunting is
I'll-
important.
I'll bring
It
that
is.
up on
You don't want
Wednesday
to-
night's meeting at the EOC.
conservation.
I'm a member there. I'll try to remember, to bring it up that, hey, You guys want to get hooked up with the Conservation Commission? Because Kevin, the president, is a friend of mine. I
Yeah.
work with him at Bean.
Yeah.
Cause they could be like doing, tracking, doing these wildlife corridors.
Well, we do tracking and hunting, fishing training
If-
at the EOC.
Personal question, like, do you have anybody there to have someone teach someone like me how to fire a pistol,
Absolutely,
good,
absolutely, positively.
okay. So,
In fact, we have a specialized women's handgun training.
okay, when, is is there a special time?
Let me find out when the next one is.
Thank you,
We have them periodically throughout the year, and
good,
we do it, for women to learn self-defense, shooting
Yeah.
sports, the enjoyment.
I belong to that group too.
Yeah,
I
okay.
only
Do you-
go over there to shoot. I don't come to their meeting.
do you know who's a crackerjack, Charlie Seeley?
Do I have a motion for adjournment?
I'll make the motion, we adjourn.
A second.
I second, do you want to?
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
Do you want these, do you want these?
Yeah, I'm gonna take care
You're
of getting
gonna
the
stuff
mail.
them all?
Jay, just throw some clocks down, and we'll smoke our way out of here.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Hey, guys, I'm gonna bring an next big too. Now, so this book here, I don't know if you've ever heard of Bernd Heinrich. He's a UVM professor. He's written some good books. I've read 2 books by him. He's about ravens. He studied ravens. This book's called Winter World. I got it at one of those little libraries, those little box libraries
Oh,
in Lebanon outside the senior center. They have great books. But it's the winter world. It's about what animals in winter, survival, the ingenuity of animal survival. So I'll, if anyone wants it after I'm done with it,
I would
I'll
love
bring it to
it.
the next meeting, and if you want to borrow it, take it, and then you can put it back into the library box.
you're all
Yeah,
through
I have a
it.
following of crows and ravens,
He's a good writer.
yeah.
He's really, that
I
book
haven't
about
seen them
ravens,
this year, but we had
good.
a raven family
Oh,
that
really?
fledged out in our
Yeah,
backyard.
there's not a lot of ravens here. You gotta
We
go a little
have-
farther north,
Well, I
but
had,
there are some.
I had
I
a
have-
full family
Yeah.
of,
They come down here in the winter.
I
Yeah.
have 5.
Yeah, he
That's
studied
okay.
them up in Maine, and it was crazy, some of the stuff he did. He would go to all the farms and get the dead cows.
Yep.
And leave the carry-on out there and watch the ravens, and he did this for a whole year. And what he learned was pretty amazing, some of the experiments he
water
did.
and all that stuff.
Oh my God, it was crazy. Animals are smart.
This is
And,
getting exciting.
I learned how to differentiate